After doing his thing at North Dakota State, Trey Lance was able to become one of the top prospects in his class, and so now it's up to him to live up to it.
Lance is going to keep it up the middle. Trey Lance breaking free! He's going to take it all the way!
Out of Marshall, Minnesota, it seems like Trey had football in his DNA, considering the fact that his father Carlton was a former CFL cornerback, and as you could guess, trained young Trey growing up. As a middle schooler, Trey played both running back and quarterback, but ultimately decided to focus at Q while at Marshall High. Throughout his time with the team, Trey kept improving his game little by little, and so as a senior, my man was seen as a top quarterback prospect out of Minnesota. Even though he was only a 3-star, with interest from some Ivy League schools, Boise, and North Dakota State, there was a major one missing, because although the University of Minnesota was interested in Trey, they only saw him as a wide receiver or defensive back prospect. It was a tough pill to swallow for my man, but ultimately he decided to try something new as he committed to NDSU. Although he redshirted his first year with the team, Trey was still able to rush for over 80 yards and 2 touchdowns in the limited time that he did end up playing. So with that in mind, with starter Easton Stick leaving for the NFL going into the following season, Trey was given a massive opportunity to prove himself in his first actual year. Even though expectations were not all that high, Trey played like they were on the moon as he had a practically perfect season. Not only did he just pass for nearly 2,800 yards and 28 touchdowns, but he did it all without a single interception. It's tough to not throw a pick in one game, let alone an entire season, but Trey was just on absolute demon timing from beginning to end. Oh, and by the way, he also had 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns rushing the ball. Like I said, he was just on timing no matter what he did. So considering how well he played, it wasn't much of a surprise that Trey was able to go from nearly an unknown talent to one of the most impressive players in not just the FCS, but college football as a whole. So with all this in mind, you would think that Trey would try and replicate his insane success the following year, but my man decided to do something unique. Instead of playing the entire season, Trey had the idea of a one-game showcase. Why worry about playing well the whole year if you could just play decent one game and still be a top prospect? So with all this in mind, there was a lot of hype about how well my man would play. And against Central Arkansas, Trey may have had an underwhelming near 150 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air, but his over 140 and 2 touchdowns on the ground more than made up for it, as Trey was able to prove that he still had the sauce. Not only was he able to play well, but the whole one-game showcase gave Trey quite a bit of attention as he rose the ranks to become not just one of the top quarterback prospects, but players in the whole draft class. So going into it, many analysts thought that either Trey or Big Mac were going to go to San Francisco 3rd overall, which is insane considering how different the two are. One played at the most prestigious school in the FBS and the FCS, and yet they were seen on the same level. So it's really telling about how much of a stud Trey was. But either way, it didn't make much of a difference in the 49ers' eyes as they decided to try something new.
After months of secrecy, they picked up Trey Lance, who played in just 19 games at North Dakota State.
Going into his first year in the Bay, just like in North Dakota, Trey was the backup. This time it was to Jimmy G, and so there was quite a bit of questions around whether or not Trey would take the starting spot before the end of the year. Considering that my man was the highest drafted FCS quarterback since Wentz, many thought that he could beat out Jimmy G sooner than later. But throughout the first few weeks, Trey took the backseat with next to no play until he was able to come in after Jimmy got injured against Seattle in week 4. In the limited time that he did end up playing, Trey was able to do pretty well with over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, although his 50% completion percentage was a bit underwhelming. No matter the case, going into the following week against Arizona, Trey was named the starter for the first time all season. But against the Cardinals, my man wasn't able to find his zone as he struggled with accuracy and it wasn't able to put together a great all-around performance, although he rushed for nearly 90 on the ground. Well, it turns out Trey wasn't 100% that game as he suffered a sprained knee. But even then, many were concerned about whether or not he had enough confidence in his game. And the same concerns persisted as Trey wasn't able to start until week 17 against Houston. Although he hadn't really played in nearly 2 months, Trey put together his best performance of the season with nearly 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, along with only 1 pick, behind a near 70% completion percentage. So all things considered, it wasn't too bad a way to end off the year, and it made his rookie stat line look much better as he passed for over 600 yards and 5 touchdowns, along with only 2 picks. Not too bad considering that he had next to no experience, and good enough play to cause many to want him to take the starting spot moving forward. Considering that Trey was able to do all that while he was dealing with the right finger injury from the preseason, then how well could he perform with another offseason and feeling back to shape? Many think he could be special, with even a former player turned analyst in James Jones thinking that he could be a star like Mahomes or Rodgers. It may be a bit of a stretch, all things considered, but the fact that Trey's in the same conversation as either of the studs, I would say is impressive enough. Because not only is he a great player, but as James talked about, he's in a great position with Shanahan putting him in the right place to do his thing. Considering that James had experience with Rodgers in Green Bay, I would say his word is worth considering. And although it's big talk considering that Trey has barely passed for 600 yards, it's talk nonetheless, and it's not just outside the building. One of Trey's teammates and Eric Armstead spoke about him being really excited about Lance, and how he thinks he has a really high ceiling and skill set that could help my man become a stud. So with all this in mind, not only is Trey impressive on the field, outside of it, my man has shown his character by welcoming each and every rookie individually to the team. As evidenced by numerous players beforehand, what you do off the field is just as important as what you do on it. And I think Trey is great in both avenues, so I think he could very well be the piece that the 49ers need in order to be great once again. But anyways, what do you guys think? Is Trey Lance as great as these guys say he is? Or is there too much hype to live up to? Let me know your thoughts. Trey Lance has had quite a unique path to the league, and it has pushed him to become one of the most interesting players in football. So it should be exciting to see what he can do next.
Off the fake, lofts it, oh wide open, Deebo Samuel! How did he get that open?
Thanks for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment down below stuff you want next. But anyways, see you all soon, and peace out.